We are a charter school, which many of you may or may not know. A charter school is a choice school. It's an option school for you to come to. You can be anywhere in the state of Oregon. It's a free public high school. If you live within the North Clackamas School District boundaries, transportation is provided. If you live outside of the North Clackamas School District boundaries, transportation is not a part of it. But we have students that come in from all over the metro area. And it's just a great place to have students from all over the Portland area at our school. The philosophy of Milwaukie Academy of the Arts is that it integrates performing and visual arts throughout a rigorous core academic curriculum in a nurturing environment. I'll pause there for a second and just say that the performing and visual arts, we have lots of ways for students to express themselves as artists and to experience learning through an artist lens. We believe in engaging the right brain and helping students experience learning through multiple intelligences. The rigorous core academic curriculum, when you come to Milwaukie Academy of the Arts, it's still a regular Oregon diploma. And so you're still taking all of your core classes in English language arts, math, science, social studies, electives, health, PE, things like that. We do offer rigorous courses, both in the arts and in core curriculum with AP classes, dual college credit, and different offerings that way. The nurturing environment, I just want to say at Milwaukie Academy of the Arts and at the Milwaukie High School campus, it's a very nurturing place where students find lasting friendships, connections, get involved in all kinds of activities. And it is the place where we hear time and time again that students really feel it's nurturing them and it's giving them the social, emotional learning and support that they need to get through high school. Together with parents and community, we want to empower our students to reach their intellectual, artistic, and creative potential. The history of our school was founded in 2005. Something that is very, very, very unique about our Academy of the Arts charter school is that it's embedded within Milwaukie High School, which is a comprehensive public high school in North Clackamas. So when you attend Milwaukie Academy of the Arts, you can think of it kind of as a small learning community within the Milwaukie High School campus. So students at both Milwaukie High School and Milwaukie Academy of the Arts, they see each other all the time. They're involved in athletics, clubs, activities together, electives they might be in together, health, PE, things like that. And I'll go through some of the courses later where you will see that MAA students are specifically just in a cohort with other MAA students. But our campus in general is an embedded nature, and so students are spending time together. We want to weave the arts throughout the curriculum. Another thing is that our students and our families are typically very satisfied with the level of education they get out of our school. We're very strong in English language arts, and we're working hard to be strong in math as well. This is a little snapshot of our enrollment. We take up to 100 students at each grade level in 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. As you can see, our cohorts kind of range between 70 to 90 students. The last couple of years, if you've been around the Milwaukie campus area, you'll see that we were rebuilding the high school. And so the last couple of years, there was a dip in enrollment at the senior level. Many students didn't want to graduate from high school when it wasn't in a physical high school building. We were out on the football field in modulars, which was a crazy fun experience, although it can't rival this COVID experience that we're in now. But we were really looking forward to getting into our new building. If you've been to the Milwaukie High School campus, you'll see there's a few different buildings on campus. Sometimes people say there's like a MAA building or an MHS building. It's all Milwaukie High School and it's all Milwaukie Academy of the Arts, and our students are in all the buildings together. So there is a performing arts building where there's lots of like theater, band, orchestra, choir, some art classes, but that is open to both schools and all of our students are in those buildings. Let's see here. So just some highlights from last year that I just want to emphasize is that we did have COVID impact us, obviously, but we still had pretty strong freshman on track rates, and that's after 9th grade year students that are on track prepared to graduate, and we had strong graduation rate last year as well. Just so you know too, at our charter school, there's ongoing comprehensive reviews where we have external people who review our school and make sure that our finances, our building, our facilities, and also our educational delivery is where it needs to be a quality school. So that's all happening. Classes at a glance. If you are a MAA student, you'll see in the core classes you take English, science, math, and social studies in your cohort of MAA students. So for like 9th grade, for example, for English, physics, and algebra or geometry, you would be with just other MAA students. The rest of your classes, you would be with MAA and MHS students combined. In the 9th grade, we have something called Arts Lab, and that is a required elective that all of our MAA students take. They're all at this time, well, this is how it's traditionally been. It could change next year, but all of the cohort, all of the freshman class is in one room together, and there's 3 teachers, and they engage in a project-based learning environment, and they pick a topic and they do research, and they really learn how to research and then develop whatever they come up with out of that research and present it. And it's really meant to help them with future classes for future learning and understanding in all content areas. Some of the benefits of being a MAA student, our core curriculum is taught through an art lens. I will say that's something that we're always working to be better at too. Our teachers are constantly looking for professional development to be able to infuse the right brain in their teaching and learning. I kind of talked about this before, but MAA is an incredibly inclusive community. We welcome all students from all backgrounds, whoever you are, however you want to show up at high school. We will be here for you and value you and love you and help you get connected in our school. There's access to a variety of programs, like I said earlier, because of the collaboration with the comprehensive high school. A benefit of being a MAA student is that you get some of those big high school programming in kind of a small school community. There's access to a robust arts program. We're bringing back dance next year. That's one of the big questions I get asked at the MAA open houses usually is, do you have a dance program? So dance is coming back. The staff commitment to the MAA students is very high. We have dedicated counselors at each grade level that move with the students. So if you were to come in next year as a 9th grader, you would have the same high school counselor for the next 4 years. They would really get to know you and kind of see what your passions are and also help you when life gets hard in high school, because there's no smooth sailing, perfect high school experience for everyone. We're here to support students, whatever comes up throughout their high school career. And finally, an art school diploma can be really beneficial if you're applying to any post-secondary programs or colleges with an art focus. And that's the end of this little presentation, but that probably sparked lots of questions you might have. So we're going to kind of transition to the second part of the evening now, where we're going to have, we have a teacher, we have a previous student, we have a parent, a board member, our principal, myself. We're all here to answer questions. So Corinne, do you want to maybe introduce each person and they can give kind of a little 1 minute about themselves, and that might help you be thinking of what kind of questions you might want to start to ask.
Yes, so we have our parent tonight. I'm looking on the screen for all of the pictures. There you are, Melissa, thank you. We've got Melissa, who is also a board member and a parent. Melissa, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Hi, yeah, thanks everybody for coming. My son is a junior at MAA this year. And as you mentioned, I'm also on the board, but I'm here tonight as a parent mostly. And yeah, we've had a great experience at both MAA and Milwaukie High School. So I'll just leave it at that for now. I can answer your questions as a parent. So.
Great. And then our teacher tonight is Michael Fell. Michael, you want to introduce yourself?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Michael Fell, and I am one of the visual arts teachers. I teach a variety of classes from digital art to digital photography, advanced and AP art, as well as social media. All of the social media content that you see on our Facebook and Instagram and Twitter goes out via students that create it. And I also teach yearbook, and we create the yearbook. What I love about working at MAA is having an admin that really believe in art and really support the arts and value and appreciate the arts for a well-rounded education. And that's, I have to say, can't be said for every school where academics are often put ahead of the arts. But here at MAA, the arts are very much embedded within the academics and viewed just as importantly as the academics. And so that's what I really love about working here and working for Miss Weathers and Miss G, the admin team. And if anybody has any questions for me, art-wise, I am the person to ask. And one last thing I'll say that I also love about it is you are coming to, if you do come to the school, it is so unique, as Miss Weathers said, the fact that it's a very small school within a larger school. And it's not a big, Milwaukie High is not a big high school. It's a medium-sized high school, but it offers so many things in many respects because you can be within that small cohort of your MAA class, but yet you can also have access to a decent-sized comprehensive high school within Milwaukie High, and that's pretty unique. So on that note, I'll hand it back on to Corinne.
Great, thank you. And then we have a former student named McKenna. Oh, there you are, McKenna, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm McKenna. I graduated in 2019, so luckily got out right before online school, but online college, so also not fun. Yeah, I completely loved my experience at MAA. It was wonderful. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I made the best decision of my life when I was 13 and decided, to apply and to go. And I still, all these years later, it has still been the best decision of my life. And I made some of my best friends from going to those classes and being at MAA, people that I still talk to on a daily basis and that I still share my life with. And it's this incredible community that brought me closer to them and that really, fostered that community of being together, being close, supporting each other, which is just MAA through and through. It is a very, very great place. I love it.
Thank you, McKenna. And then we have a current student named Isis.
Isis was trying to get in. The passcode was a little wonky. I don't know if they're in.
I got in.
Yay! How's it going?
Good. I'm Isis and I'm a junior at MAA. And I definitely agree, with everything that everyone has said. Like, I think that MAA has definitely been a big part of my life. And I've had a really hard past with school and not being able to fit in with most kids, not being able to communicate with teachers very much, and just having a hard time learning in a safe space. And coming to MAA was so refreshing. I was honestly able to walk into a classroom and feel seen by teachers and students, and people around you just want to learn and have this passion for art that kind of drives them in all of the subjects. And so that makes it really awesome and beautiful to be around, and you just feel kind of uplifted by all of that.
Great, thank you, Isis. And you have already heard from Kristi and Carmen. And so that makes up our panel. Here's how I think we should do this Q&A. If you have a question, either raise your virtual hand, which if you go to the participants list and go to your name, you should be able to say raise hand. Is that correct? Is there a little raise hand button?
If you're on an iPad, which I am, if you click on the little more button up in the upper right-hand corner, it'll give you options. And the first option there is raise hand as well.
And if you don't see that option, then just go ahead and type in the chat, I have a question, and I will call on you. And that way we can take these questions one by one. So if anybody does have a question, go ahead and raise your virtual hand or write in the chat, I have a question. Oh, there we go. Okay, so let's start with Michelle and Isabella.
Hi. We're wondering if there's a bus schedule. You might have said it earlier, but you don't recall hearing about it.
Yeah, so if you live in the North Clackamas School District, there is a bus schedule and transportation is provided. And the bus schedules come out a little closer to school time with the exact stops and times of all of those. If you live outside of the North Clackamas School District, TriMet has a bus stop right by our school in downtown Milwaukee. So if you can access TriMet, that's a good option too.
Great. And then next, did that answer your question, Michelle and Isabella?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So we'll move on to Stella.
So I had a question about the AP classes. When you're in MAA, does it limit the AP classes you can take?
No, when you forecast for your schedule, you can forecast for AP classes as well, and as many classes as you can get in AP that fit in your schedule with all the requirements you have, you can take as many as you like.
Cool, thank you.
And next we'll go to Becca.
Okay, thanks. I have a few questions, but I can just start with one. What is the support like for kids who are on the spectrum or have IEPs?
Sure. So part of our enrollment process, and I'll explain the application process because I saw that in the chat as well in just a second. But part of the enrollment process is when you enroll to come to MAA, we look to see if you have an IEP or a 504. And if you do, we offer full special education services. Same with ELD services if you're an English language learner. And so when our counselors get your enrollment paperwork, if you have an IEP or a 504, they would schedule a special meeting to invite all the people that need to be at that meeting. And then they look at your IEP and we offer whatever support is in the IEP to meet the needs of your student.
Great. So there's not like a separate class or anything for kids with an IEP, like a study skills kind of class?
We have a variety of IEP supports depending on what's written in the IEP. So we do offer a couple self-contained programs for both intellectual disability and also behavior support, but that's usually a pretty advanced level of support on IEPs. We have other students that have a specific learning disability or communication disability, and so they might see the speech language pathologist, or they might have a check-in with the case manager for academic support. They might have one study skills class instead of a study hall class. There's just a lot of options, and our school psychologist and our special education team assess whatever the IEP is when you enroll, and work with you, have an IEP meeting to come up with what that support looks like on your student schedule.
Okay, thank you. Should I ask my next question or should I wait?
Go ahead, Becca.
Okay. Also wondering if there's a queer club or any support or stuff like that.
Yep, we offer a GSA, and I'm not the only person that can talk. Carmen, you can jump in anytime you want to. Do you want to jump in? I feel like I've answered all these.
We do have an LGBTQ, a GSA club. And before things shut down, we also had a pride party on the tracks, the first of its kind. I haven't seen any in other schools, so I was really excited, not just because we haven't seen it, but just because the comments I would hear from the kids that were like standing in line, or just how excited they were, and I could hear them just talking about how wonderful it was to be able to be themselves and be in a school where they felt like, you know, they were seen and heard and valued. So that was pretty cool. And before we shut down, we were going to do an even bigger one this year. And a lot of folks wanted to be involved, and we had booths and all kinds of stuff. So definitely. And also we have a large population of LGBTQ plus. So it is really important that our kids are supported. And then just one thing that they like, a little thing I'll talk about with our health curriculum, there was also, they did surveys with students, and students were saying we need more information on LGBTQ plus. So some kids were involved with our health clinic, and they created some lessons to embed within the health curriculum. So it is something that we take seriously, and we want to support all of our kids.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
If I could just speak, I can speak to that firsthand. My son is a member of that community, and just as a parent, I couldn't be more pleased with the level of acceptance and just how warm and loving the entire campus is.
Could I also say something, because I think it is such an important part of Milwaukee's identity. Our school probably, well, certainly more than any school I've worked in, but I think probably fair to say more than most schools in the immediate area. Carmen and Kristi would be able to say for sure because they're principals. But we are such a diverse school, the most diverse school in North Clackamas. I think we're approximately 50% students of color. We have a large LGBTQ population within our both our staff and our students. And we really spend a lot of time as teachers and as students and as just as a community, really talking about, discussing race and LGBT issues to the point where equity and equality are first and foremost. And I think ISIS really kind of nailed it on the head when ISIS was saying, you know, how they felt really seen just as a human being, as a person in the school. I think it's fair to say that, you know, for all of our students, our BIPOC students and our LGBTQ students and our staff that also identify within those two communities, definitely feel very seen, very respected, heard, and appreciated. So it's a great community. And if I could just double back on one thing, somebody asked about AP. That's the other beauty about MAA, is that there are classes that maybe aren't necessarily just MAA classes that MAA students are able to, you know, to access. And AP is certainly one of them, as are the dual college credit classes, dual college credit being classes that offer community college credits. And that in itself is just a really fantastic opportunity.
Thank you. And Michael, I did forget to talk about our equity committee, which is large and thriving. And we also have students on that equity committee. Melissa, but her son is on there, and he's a great big leader and creating lessons for community connections. So yeah, there's a lot going on. And we are going to implement some pretty rigorous courses next year as well around AP statistics and those kinds of things. So.
All right, thank you, everybody. I'm gonna move over to a couple of the questions in the chat. So can we explain the application process?
Yes, I was just about to take a drink. So the application process is open right now, and it's actually open for all grade levels at our school. So if you're on here and you're not a potential 9th grade student next year, you might be looking as a 10th, 11th, or 12th grader. The application process is open. We are accepting applications until March 15th. How you get an application is you go onto academyofthearts.com or .org, I believe. And you can download an application there, and then you can email it to me, or you can mail it directly to the school, or you can drop it off at the school during 7:30 to 3:30 Monday through Friday. Once March 15th comes, that's our first kind of deadline, and we accept up to 100 students. Everybody gets in if we're under 100 students. If we're over 100 students, then we will have a lottery at that point and develop a waiting list. March 15th is our first deadline. Last year was a little wonky because of COVID. We were very limited staffing, so it took a little while to get everybody their acceptance letters. I would like to have acceptance letters and emails out by the 1st of April. So you'd be hearing from us by then. And Rachel Brandon is our enrollment specialist for MAA. And so if you call the school and have questions, or if you get email correspondence from her, her and I work very closely together on the enrollment process.
Great. And then next question is, why are the math scores so low?
I could possibly say, as an artist myself, I was never great at art, but that is obviously a sweeping generalization. I don't know how much you want to believe into the right brain, left brain, but I certainly struggled with math, and I did very well with art, but I don't know if that's necessarily a case, but I'll hand it off to the principals.
I will say that this year our 9th graders scored in the 90 percentile in math. So like in algebra and geometry. So we've been doing some things to create some supports with math and science are two students generally overall. When you look at like schools, math and science are the ones that students struggle with the most. However, we've been putting some things in place to increase those scores. And that's why we had such a jump in our math scores this year after the first quarter. Interestingly enough, because we're in CDL. So, but we implemented 9th grade teams across the board. This year, we added a MAA 9th grade team as well to look at how we can best support our students. There also has been a shift. So there used to be a lot of like support classes, and support classes are great. However, it's not, kids don't enjoy them very much, right? Like they want to be able to access electives and the things that they are passionate about. And that's what keeps them in school and keeps them going a lot of times. It's not necessarily math. And so when you have like a math class, a math support class, and all of those things, then they don't have access to electives. So we took a shift, but it didn't really change the math scores much with that shift. But I will say that I think that like the direction that we're going in is increasing, well, it is increasing the math scores, and it will continue to go that way, hopefully. But yeah,
and I would just add, over the last few years, you know, the standards have become more rigorous, and we've also changed our standardized testing platform in the last few years. So we saw a dip in scores really at all the math levels that kids get tested at math. But that's where, like Carmen is sharing, that professional development is coming into play, and we're doing things to better teach and instruct and support students in math, because we want them to reach high levels. And if we're not quite meeting the level yet, we're not going to drop it to make it easier. We're going to help kids get up to that high rigorous level.
We added 80 more students this year to AP. So we made an effort to like strategically reach out to students and invite them to AP. So we're trying to do like both ends, right? Offer a ton of support, social emotional well-being, like just support identity development and all of that stuff. And then also push to the top. But we, you know, that takes time. And in the 3 years, I believe this is my 3rd year, Kristi's 2nd, we've implemented a lot. And, you know, our goal is to really provide students with what they need to be successful, not just in college, but life, just all the way around. So work, college, relationships, all of that good stuff.
Great. Thank you all for those answers. I'm going to jump to a couple more application questions just to come back to that. And then I'm going to move over to Laurel and then Emmett, and then I'll come back to the questions in the chat. I believe, Kristi, you answered some of these. When do we find out if we've been accepted? That was April 1st is your goal, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then there's another question. Is there a chance that I might not get into MAA? Do some people get cut off by the limit?
Only if we reach 100 students and do the lottery drawing, and you end up on the wait list within that and don't get it in the first 100. I think right now in the 9th grade class for applications, we're between 50 and 60, I believe, that have been accepted. So we still have room.
Okay. And then there was another application question. Family members still receive preference for admission. Is that correct?
I don't believe so, but I'm going to double check in all of our paperwork and bylaws and charter agreement. I'm not positive on that answer, but I will find that out soon. And whoever asked that question, if you want to email me, that will help remind me. I can get you a very specific response back.
Okay, Laurel, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah. So the application essay, it says it has to be, doesn't say it has to be handwritten, but it also, do you have to download it and then print it and then turn it into the school, or can you just type it up?
Yeah, we need to change that because a handwritten essay is not 2021. If you want to type your essay, that's fine, and send it to us. Some people handwrite them, some people type them. So if you want to mail it to us, that's easy. If you also want to take a picture of it as a picture PDF and email that, it's pretty easy to take a picture and email that, I think, from most like phones. But if you have any struggles with that particular application piece, just send me an email. We'll work through it. I've had a couple families that like even printing off the application, like we don't have a printer right now, you know, and that's no problem. And so we're like, hey, no problem. We're going to print an application and send it to you in the mail, and then you can get it back to us. So don't be discouraged if there's any part of the application process that you're like, I don't know about this, or this is tricky for us. Just reach out and we'll work through it together. We don't want the application itself to be a barrier to you coming. So.
All right, Emmett and then Jamie.
I'm going to be Emmett's spokesperson. I'm his mom. 2 questions. I'm curious how many spots there are in grade 10. And with regards to language, Emmett's interested in studying Japanese. He's been studying Japanese in grade 7, 8, and 9, and just want to hear more about how that works.
So we, Japanese is offered at Sabin-Schellenberg. So basically how that would work is if he were to get into Japanese, he would take a bus over to Sabin-Schellenberg during that class time. We at Milwaukie, we offer Spanish and French right now, but Sabin-Schellenberg has a ton of classes that students can access that all the schools in the North Clackamas School District can access. Also at the 10th grade level, we currently do have openings in MAA. So
yeah, we have about 20 openings. So 10th grade this year will be 10th grade next year.
It'll be 10th grade next year.
Okay, so we have 12 openings because we're at 88 students in 9th grade right now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
My son went to Sabin-Schellenberg and took Japanese there for 2 years. It was fine.
And that's the other cool thing about, you know, North Clackamas in general is we have the Sabin-Schellenberg campuses, which are, you know, our CTE vocational classes that students can access, which are pretty fantastic. So not only will students have the MAA classes that they can access, but they could also access some MHS classes, such as the AP, which were talked about earlier. But then there's also the whole Sabin-Schellenberg campus, which is pretty phenomenal. So, you know, students would be coming here with so many opportunities to be able to grab some cool classes.
And I just wanted to point out with Sabin-Schellenberg classes too, it can be scary, especially for a freshman. I took Sabin-Schellenberg classes as a freshman. It can be kind of scary to be leaving campus and going to another one. But it is really amazing. They have a great system set up for buses and transport. And there are just so many opportunities there that you wouldn't get anywhere else.
Great. And then we did answer the question of, sorry, Jamie, we'll get to you. What languages are offered, but they're just on that topic. Is there a requirement to learn a foreign language?
It's not a graduation requirement, but most 4-year colleges and universities, foreign language is often a requirement for their applications to college. And that's something too, that as you work with your school counselor, they'll do presentations every year on what your options are and why you might want to take different paths, different classes, different options that way.
And then there's a question about students taking an exam for the bilingual high school degree. We have a stamp test that students can take. that gives them a seal on their diploma, and also, well, it's the bilingual seal on their diploma. But a lot of our kids can take that. Even if you speak another language and haven't taken a class, if you take the STAMP test, you can score and earn up to 4 full credits for it. So that's something that is done here every year.
Sign language does not currently qualify. I saw that question in the chat.
There is the option though to take it through the community college, and that you can count that toward your foreign language. It's not quite a foreign language, but that can count toward your degree for that.
Did we answer your question, Jamie?
Yes, the question I had was going to be Kristi's email, but I saw it come up in the chat. Thank you.
Got it. Okay.
I'm going to get lots of good emails tomorrow. I'm excited about this.
Hi, Rebecca. I'm your tech person. Hi.
I'm not checking my email tonight though, so I'm going to have dinner and get some rest, but tomorrow I'll write you back, I promise.
That's fair. All right, let's go to Elise.
Hi. Do you guys have any foreign exchange programs? And do you offer after-school tutoring if it's needed?
So we do have a foreign exchange program that we work with the district, and there's a couple of different agencies that work with us, and I am the one that the foreign exchange students come to, the applications, if they want to come to Milwaukee. And then your second question was
tutoring.
Oh, we got tutor, girl. We
so much tutoring.
For days. We've got tutoring after school. We've got tutoring in the evening. We've got tutoring on a Saturday. We've got tutoring after every single class. And then we have our special ed department also offers tutoring during asynchronous time. So we're trying to figure out. And then when we're in brick and mortar, when we're in the building, we also offer tutoring after school.
Hey, Corinne, can I jump to a question I see in the chat that I'd love Isis to answer?
Yeah.
Okay, you ready, Isis? One of the questions I see in the chat is, can you talk more about how the MAA students interact with Milwaukee high school students during a normal school day and school hours? So talk about that from your perspective as a student.
Well, as a student, you are mixed. I mean, you guys have lunch together. You guys are you have elective classes together. And then in your core classes, you have just your MAA students and peers with you, which I have found to be very, I was homeschooled for a lot of my schooling. And high school was actually the first year that I went a full year without going back to homeschooling. So having a mix between MAA and MHS throughout the day, and then also being able to kind of take breaks and go to my core classes with only MAA students was really, it made it available for me to make it through the day, make it through the week, make it through the year, and end up in my junior year, really solid. And so I think that you get to meet all of the people, and you have access to all of the classes, and you're not separated, but you also have these really safe spaces with just kids who are going through exactly what you're going through, that maybe an MHS kid wouldn't know, or something like that. But I found it very, very helpful for me, and just how I deal with kids my age and schoolwork and stuff like that. So yeah.
If I could speak to that too, that's the exact same experience that I had. And I was a few years ahead of you, and even then I see that it's continued, and that's just incredible, because it really helps having arts lab, because that freshman year, you're scared, you're going into your high school, like your first high school experience, and this is all new, but you have those kids that are going through the same exact thing as you, and you are, taking the same classes, and you're in all the same classes, and for the most part, you spend most of your day. Like, there were days that, because it's, block schedule, it's, there were times when I spent all day with these people, and because we had all of our classes together, and it was yeah, you go and you know, have an experience with one of the Milwaukie proper kids and it's great, but also then you get to kind of come back to one of your MA classes and it's like, okay, I'm home. I have this support group, and especially my senior year, I didn't have any MA classes because I took AP classes. And I really, really missed that experience. And I had a lot of MA students in my AP classes, but it was a little different still because yes, I still had those relationships and those same MA people, but it's different than having that MA class, which there's just something very comforting about that, and very, you know, this is home, this is where I'm supposed to be, this is where I'm safe. That not that you're not safe in any of your other classes, but it just a really good sense of community and family.
Can I answer two quick questions in the chat?
Yeah.
Yes, we have a theater program. It's awesome. We'd love you to be a part of it. Average class size, you know, depending on the class, it can range from 25 to 45. So yeah, if you have a more specific question about class size, feel free to raise your hand. We can talk more about it. But, you know, our PE classes are pretty big. Our study hall classes are pretty big. Some more specific electives, higher up you go, might be smaller. So
another similar kind of question about logistics. What is the bell schedule?
yeah, so I think like McKenna said, we have the block schedule. So you have 8 classes, 8 periods in a semester, and that's over the course of 2 days. So we have a day, B day, day 1, day 2. So periods 1 through 4 on the first day, periods 5 through 8 on the second day. That's a little different in this comprehensive distant learning model, but typically it's that block schedule. And even the CDL model that we're in now, it uses the block schedule. It just lays it out a little differently in quarters because of how we're doing online learning. But yeah.
And what time does school start?
7:35? No. 8:35.
8:35, yeah. And the classes, they go 8:35 to 10 o'clock is your first period, and then you've got 9 minutes or so to get to your next class. 10:10 to 11:35 is your next class, and then we have a lunch in between there. We have some broken up staggered lunches, which I'm not sure if that's going to continue with the new building, but there's lunch in there. And then your other class are 1:10 to 2. Or is it, I can't remember off the top of my head because we are in such a totally different schedule, but it basically your day ends at 3:10. So they are 87-minute classes.
Okay, let's get to, is it Deanna?
I mean, obviously we're really hoping for in-person classes next year, but if it is still virtual, what's the experience like for the art classes remotely?
Well, I can speak to that because I teach photography this quarter and advanced in AP art the first and the third quarter. And it's, you know, obviously it's missing being around the students because normally the art students are immediately kind of working around each other. They're looking at each other's work. They're bouncing ideas off of each other. I'm in the room. I'm able to circulate. And we don't have that, but we have been able to create, I think, a pretty solid community that I'm pretty proud of, to be honest. The students, I give the assignment. We spend a lot of time listening and looking at artists. I really showcase BIPOC artists and LGBTQ artists a lot, simply because the majority of their art experiences have obviously been through a white art history lens, in particular Europe and America. So we listen to a lot of different voices, and usually those voices are tied into the assignment that I'm giving them. They will have sometimes a week, sometimes 2 weeks to work on that project because they are advanced students. And at the end, on a deadline day, they turn their work in by midnight the night before. And that next class, I download them all, and we have what is called a gallery walk. And I present the artwork, and the students will talk about their work for a couple of minutes, and then the other students are able to give their feedback. And that's been really, really good. I've been just really pleased with how safe that has been and how engaged the students have been. They've really taken to it, which is nice. I mean, obviously it lacks a little bit simply because it's not live teaching, but I think that it's as good as it can be under the circumstances. I can't speak, unfortunately, for choir and theater, but I do know that theater is happening because we are having online theater. We just promoted the Tournament of Plays. So the theater program is definitely still going, still thriving, and it's done through Zoom. Yeah, I can certainly talk about the visual arts if you have more questions about that.
And the choir program is still making awesome music too. They just had a live kind of concert showcase of students in choir performing and singing and playing instruments. So that was really cool.
And I can only hear my son's violin, but he and the teacher can hear everybody.
I love it.
Okay, there was a question back here that I believe had to do with applications, which is, do students within the North Clackamas district get first chance at a spot?
I believe the answer to that is yes, once we go into the lottery system. However, that is something I'll look up again. It's just not on the tip of my brain right now. Same thing with the family members one. So shoot me an email, I'll follow up.
Looks like Stella has their hand raised.
Yeah, do you guys have a jazz band?
A jazz band? I believe there is a jazz band section of, yeah.
We have a jazz.
There is definitely a jazz band, and they are awesome. The music director's a jazz drummer. So
yeah, we have a pretty big jazz program.
Yay, thank you.
Yeah, and while we're talking about the arts, I saw the question from Andrew, and Andrew, we are there to support. We are there to encourage. We are there to certainly help students that would like to create a portfolio to maybe apply for the arts at either community college or a four-year university or a private art college. But we're there really to listen to you, to support you for what it is you want to do so that you can be successful no matter what it is. Maybe it's in engineering, maybe it's in math, maybe it's in the languages, and maybe it is in the arts, but we're there for you. We're there to support you. And no one, is going to try and push you down a direction that you don't want to go. But we're there certainly to help our art students to hopefully allow them to be successful when they do apply for college if they decide that's the direction they want to go.
And to bounce off Phil there, I never planned on doing anything arts related as my career. I did choir in high school and loved it. It was an amazing experience. But everything that I learned at MAA, because I'm going into a healthcare field, and everything that I learned at MAA has helped me so much in college and learning in all of these science classes that I'm taking and all of these different classes that aren't art classes, but I learned a lot of different things, especially with Arts Lab, that, that college prep that is really preparing you to be a good student and to be able to kind of think outside of the box for your other classes as well, that it's not just focused on just art. It's focused on teaching you to think a lot of different ways, which includes art, which is not a thing at any other high school that I've ever heard of, which it really, really improves the way that you think, and it makes it easier to understand things once you can look at things from a different angle.
And that's a fantastic, straight from a student who just graduated recently, who's now taking higher level classes at college. The arts are all about problem solving and critical thinking. And, as an artist, there's so much that one is doing, whether you are in theater or dance or a painter or a musician. You are problem solving all the time. I'm currently working on a painting myself, and I'm constantly trying to work things out, and it gets your brain to think critically. And that, whether you're an artist or not, will help you succeed without a doubt as you continue to be a lifelong learner.
I'm going to jump in there just for a second. I'm actually McKenna's mom, so I've got all kinds of like pride things that happen with that too. And art has so much to do with more than just what goes on a piece of paper as well. As McKenna mentioned, she did choir throughout high school. She's actually on a full scholarship in school now because of vocal performance, and a lot of that has to do with the experience that she had through MAA. So there's more that's out there, so I just want to share that as well.
There are two other questions about art classes. One is, how many art classes do freshmen get to take each semester? And then the other one is the difference between art options for MAA and for the North Clackamas School District art electives in a high school.
So as far as I'll answer one, I'll let Carmen answer the other. As far as, or Fel, if you want to answer too, as far as in your schedule, your art classes are your electives. So if you want to take any of the art classes, those fall around your other major classes, your core classes of English, math, science, things like that, health, PE. So when you do your forecasting and making your schedule, they'll tell you how many elective choices you have, and you'll get to make a list of what your preferences are. And then you'll get into a couple of those. Your 9th grade year, you will have the MAA arts lab for sure. And then if you want to do band or choir, or orchestra, art 1, 2, whatever. Carmen, the other question I can answer, or you can answer, can you explain the difference between options for MAA and other North Clackamas School District art electives? Or you might be muted there.
So our electives, in the sense of like art and theater and choir and all of those things, are open to everybody, MHS and MAA. A lot of our MAA students fill up a lot of those classes, but it is open to everyone, and we want everyone to access art. We think art is really important for all of our students. But with MAA, what you get is, so there really isn't a difference. Like, MAA students can have access to any of our electives, and so can MHS students. I think the difference is that we have the MAA group of students that travel together and work together, and it's all art-based, and we're working on infusing more art into the core content areas of math and science and social studies. So that's the difference.
Yeah, and I think also, with respects to what we offer as opposed to the other high schools in the district, I know that we have more art options than Rex Putnam does. We probably have similar options to Clackamas, just knowing what the teachers teach over there. And I'm talking specifically about the visual arts. I know that, there's also the performing arts, but, certainly within the performing arts, the visual arts, students can access a variety of different classes, from Art 1, 2 to Art 3, 4 to Advanced Art to AP Art. Obviously, there's the Arts Lab at the freshman level. McKenna could talk more about certainly the choir classes, and maybe somebody could talk more about some of the music and the drama classes. But we have a real good host of classes that are there in the visual and the performing arts. And as Carmen said, if I have, off the top of my head, if I had 35 students in an art class, I would say maybe 20 of them are probably MAA, and then the other 15 are MHS.
And that goes the same if anybody's interested in sports too. You can participate on any sports team that is offered by Milwaukie proper. I played volleyball all 4 years, and I think it was my senior year or my junior year, one of them, half the team was MA students. And it was just incredible to see that, you know, people showing up like that. That had not been the case in a really long time, or for several other teams, almost any other team, there hadn't been that many. And it was really nice to see that representation of, yes, you can be artistic, but you can also be athletic. And yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I think that's one of the things that at MA that we really try to do is not think of an artist just strictly as a student who takes this particular art class. And you know, I love that question earlier that I think it was Andrew asked, like, what do I have to do? Like, what if I'm still trying to figure it out? Like, that is a great spot to be in. You sound like a teenager about to go to high school. Like, well, you don't have to know what you want to do. Explore your passions, your interests. You might change paths. You might meet friends that say, hey, try choir, try sports, try this, try that. And like Mr. Fell said, like being an artist is thinking critically, creatively, solving problems, and engaging with your core curriculum in a different way, different mindset, a different avenue of learning. And I think the cool thing about our teachers at the school is that they recognize that, they recognize the artist mindset, and there's no one way to learn. And that's a very good thing. The world needs all kinds of people that think in all kinds of ways, that bring all kinds of experiences to our school. So yeah. Corinne, maybe just a few more minutes too, and then we will maybe wrap things up for tonight.
Great.
Wait, I think Carmen was going to say
Okay. Well, I was just going to say really quickly, because the question about the lacrosse team, the district. So there's a lacrosse team at, I believe, Clackamas High School that any students can access. So if we don't have some, that's another thing we want to say, like if we don't have something, or, you know, we like to brainstorm with our kids and families to figure out how do we get them access to certain things. And I will say this, I'm in my 3rd year at this high school at Milwaukie. Love it. And I just have to say, I've been in like several different schools and consulting as well. And I have the best staff of any school I've ever worked in. So just have to put that out there. And I love Milwaukie and our students and our staff. So.
And going back to the lacrosse, there have been many students over the course of the years that I've taught here that have played rugby on a variety of clubs, probably through maybe Clackamas County or Portland. But yeah, I've had a number of students that are rugby players. So they've managed to find some of the more obscure sports to play as well.
we do have a girls soccer team. That's in the
Any other
chat.
question? Oh, can you hear me?
Just popped in.
Okay. The only other question that we hadn't addressed is just if there's an advantage to getting the application in before March 15th, or if everybody's thrown into the same pool.
Thrown into the same pool at March 15th.
Okay. And do we have a girls soccer team?
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to add, I know we want to go, but I just want to add that, you know, my son's an athlete as well. So that's been a great plus with the small school. But a big thing for us with MAA has been, we didn't really feel like our son was academically challenged in middle school very much. So we really looked for that when we were looking at high schools. And we are very impressed with that as far as MAA. And that also just exposure to all different kinds of art. You know, like my son's a musician. He had never painted or drawn or done other things. And he does he just does it for fun now. Just he's been exposed to other people that do it. So that's been really cool. That's all.
All right. My daughter is counting all of your faces on the screen. So we're going to wrap up. There is contact information in the chat. If you have further questions, if we didn't get around to answering one of yours, I apologize if I overlooked anybody. There is contact information also on the website and some more just general info on the website. But we want to just thank you all for taking the time to be here for the last hour and learning more about MAA. And Kristi, do you have anything else to say to wrap it up?
No, I just want to especially thank our board members, Mr. Fell, Ms. G, our students, both present and past. Thank you everyone for being here. I think it's a rich experience to hear multiple perspectives of Milwaukie Academy of the Arts. And if you have other questions, sometimes people email me questions more specifically about schedules and academic planning and elective planning. Our counseling team is awesome. And if you email me, I can get you in touch with them if you have more specific questions around our course offerings, course catalog, and how that all plays out. But yeah, we're just so thankful you were here tonight. This is a great format to do this. This is fun. Miss G, any last words? You always bring us home with something good to say.
Well, I mean, I'm going to focus on our students and former students because that's why we do what we do, and just so appreciate you. And it's so wonderful to see you and your beautiful faces. Thanks to the families. But this is right. Obviously, our students I just love our students. So we all love our kids very much. So